أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My condolences to the Imam of our time, Imam al-Mehdi Ajjalallahu Farajah Sharif, and to all of our maraji', and to all of you on this very sad month, a month of grief, the month of Muharram. Inshallah, today I'll be carrying on a series of youth lectures on the life of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. The title of my lecture today is Brotherhood. What is brotherhood? Brotherhood is the relationship between two people. For example, two brothers in a family, blood related. Or two people, brothers in faith. Imam Ali alayhi salam says in one of his hadiths, الناس صنفان إما أخ لك في الدين أو نظير لك في الخلق. People are of two types, either your brother in faith or your equal in humanity. So it's the relationship between these two people. In my last lecture, we looked at role models, the characteristics of role models and so on. What I didn't mention is that what do we do when we have a role model? Let's say we're in arm's reach of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wa alih. What do? We have to follow their teachings and so on, because otherwise, what's the point of a role model? Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Today, we will be looking at two types of role models. One is two types of brotherhood. One, good brotherhood, the other, bad brotherhood. An example of bad brotherhood would be people who don't have respect for each other, people who have jealousy between their relationship. For example, the sons of Prophet Adam, Habil and Qabil. What did Habil and Qabil do? They both gave a sacrifice to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Habil's was accepted, Qabil's was rejected. Qabil, instead of feeling happy for his brother that his was accepted, what did he do? His envy built up inside of him and he ended up killing his own brother. This is an example of very bad brotherhood. What brother would kill his own brother? Because of envy. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wa alihi has said, no one will be a true believer until they like for their brother what they like for themselves. So in this story, Qabil, he doesn't like that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted his brothers and not his. He was jealous. Another example is Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam. Prophet Yusuf had around 11 brothers. Not all of them, but most of them, they were jealous of him. Why? Because their father, Prophet Yaqub, would give more special attention to Prophet Yusuf. Why? Because he would of course become a prophet. The brothers noticed this and they became jealous. Instead of, paying more attention to him as well, because of course he would become a prophet, what did they do? They lied to their father about going to the fields to play with Yusuf. Over there, they were about to kill him, but they stopped. But they didn't do something much better. What did they do? They put him down a well to either die or for someone to find him. This is another example of terrible brotherhood. Brothers putting their own brother down a well. Because of what? Because of jealousy. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wa alihi says, do not envy each other. In both these stories, Qabil and the brothers of Prophet Yusuf, they went against this saying by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wa alihi. However, when we look to the relationship of Imam Hussain alayhi salam and Abil Fadl al-Abbas, what do we see? We see that they have a huge amount of respect for each other and a huge amount of love for each other. There was no trace of envy or jealousy, none of this. Even though Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas' biological mother was al-Banin, and Imam Hussein's biological mother was Fatima al-Zahra, al-Banin would pay special attention to Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, he didn't do what Qabil and the brothers of Prophet Yusuf did. Instead, he paid even more love and even more respect to Imam Hussain alayhi salam. For example, after the tragedy of Karbala, al-Banin was still in Medina looking after a child. Every day she would be asking people, do you know news of what happened on the day of Karbala? What happened? Please tell me. What happened to Imam Hussain alayhi salam? Until a bishop came to Medina. He said, I have news of what happened on Karbala. Imam al-Banin, she goes to this man and she listens to what he has to say. This man continues, but then he realized al-Banin is in his presence. He doesn't want to say what happened to Imam Hussain alayhi salam, how he was trampled over horses in front of his mother. So what does he do? He stops. Banin approaches him. She says, do you have news of Imam Hussain alayhi salam? The man says, I'm afraid to inform you that your son has died a martyr. Banin replies, I've asked you for Imam Hussain alayhi salam, not about my son. He continues until he mentions all of the sons of Banin that have died as martyrs. And then it comes to a point where he says, Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas has died a martyr. Banin collapses to the ground with a baby in her arms. She starts crying and weeping and mourning. And then she says, you have shattered my heart. I have asked for you about Imam Hussain alayhi salam. The man replies, I regret to inform you, but Imam Hussain alayhi salam has died a martyr, and so on. She starts to cry and weep. Notice how she still had immense love for Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, but she's paid special attention to Imam Hussain alayhi salam, because of course he is her master as well. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, like I just mentioned, he doesn't have envy for Imam Hussain because of his mother pays more attention to him. No. Like we said, he has more respect and more love for Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Their relationship started from Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas's birth. This was when Imam Hussain alayhi salam was around 26 years old. Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, when he was born, his eyes were still closed. Banin handed him to Imam Hussain alayhi salam. When she does this, Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas opens his eyes. And who's the first face that he sees? The face of Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam. So Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas was with Imam Hussain alayhi salam from the moment that he opened his eyes, but also to the moment that he closed his eyes on the last day of his life. Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, he waited his whole life for the day of Karbala so he can fight and protect his brother Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam. When he asked Imam Hussain alayhi salam for permission to fight on the battlefield, Imam Hussain alayhi salam rejected his request. He continued to ask, and Imam Hussain alayhi salam eventually said, if you want to do something, please go and fetch water for the women and the children of Karbala. Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, when he goes to the river, he doesn't know that there awaited him murder. Over there, when he put his hot hands in the cold water of Al-Furat, he picks up water, he's about to drink, but he drops it. He thinks of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. How can I drink when my brother is thirsty, when my master is thirsty? As Brother Taha mentioned yesterday, Imam Hussain Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas would refer to Imam Hussain as master, not oh brother, not oh Hussain, as master. So Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, he filled up the sack and started to make his way back. But then a couple of enemies, a huge amount of enemies, they hid behind some palm trees. When Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas was on his horse and he passed, what did the enemies do? They cut off his whole arm. We complain when we have a splinter in our finger. We start crying, we're angry because of a little blood and a little pain. Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas had his whole arm cut off. Imagine the pain. And not only one of his arms, both of his arms. Now you might be asking, How did he carry the water back to the camp? Well, he put it under his chin. He continued to go. And then he was showered with arrows, and one even hit his eye. But he continued to try and make his way to the camp of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Eventually, he falls down. Imam Hussain alayhi salam sees his flag topple down. And this is the first time in his life that Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas calls out for Imam Hussain as, "Oh brother." Imagine the emotions going through Imam Hussain alayhi salam. For the first time in his life, he's heard his brother say, "Oh brother," not "Oh master." Imam Hussain alayhi salam is described as being an angry lion towards Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. He goes through the enemies, and once he reaches Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, he fights off the enemies around him, and he comes and sits down and puts his head on his lap. What does Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas do? He removes his head from his lap. Imam Hussain alayhi salam asks, "Why? I'm trying to comfort you." Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, look at this reply. He says, "I don't want to have something that you won't. Later on, when you are killed, when you are trampled on, when you are cut into pieces, you won't have anyone for your head to rest on. You won't have anyone to comfort you." So now we can see the brotherhood between Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas and Imam Hussain. Even in his last moments, he gives respect and love to Imam Hussain alayhi salam. This lecture so far, we've talked about brotherhood. We've talked about the respect between Imam Hussain alayhi salam and Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. What a close relationship they had. We've talked about bad examples of brotherhood. So inshallah today I've made clear that Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas and Imam Hussein's brotherhood was one like no other. وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين.